Have you ever wondered why politics has a left wing and a right wing? It actually comes from where politicians physically sat in the French Revolution. Welcome back to my series, The Politics Playbook, where I, Maddie the Baddie, are talking you through the basics of politics and creating a safe space for you to learn more. In today's episode, we are talking about the origins of left wing versus right wing. Before the Revolution, France was ruled by King Louis XVI, and it was an absolute monarchy, and society was split into three groups. Those groups were called the Three Estates. So the first estate was the clergy, also known as the church. The second group was nobility, and the third group was everyone else. So even though the third estate was made up of 97% of the population, obviously it's the working class, it's the people who keep society running, they obviously then paid most of the taxes, whilst the first estate and the second estate just enjoyed special privileges and didn't really pay any tax. In 1789, France was going through a little bit of a financial crisis, so it decided to have the first Estates General meeting in 175 years. So the way that their voting system worked then was that each estate had one vote, so there was a total of 3 votes. And this obviously became unfair because the third estate, the majority of the population, they wanted very different things to the other two. And obviously the first and the second estate, they voted the same, so they always won. So the third estate decided to protest. So they broke away and formed what is called a National Assembly, as they basically declared that they are the majority of the French population, they are the French society, and they need to be heard. They actually protested by locking themselves in an indoor tennis court and wouldn't come out until France had a constitution. Side note, a constitution is a set of rules that a ruler or government has to follow in order to protect the people. So as France debated how it should be governed, people naturally split into 2 groups and would sit on opposite sides of the chamber. Those who wanted to keep the king and preserve the influence of the Catholic Church would sit on the right, and those who don't would sit on the left. Those who sat on the left wanted greater political equality. They wanted to, in the end, abolish the monarchy. They wanted the monarchy to not have as much say. In summary, they basically just wanted constitutional rights to put everyone on a little bit more of an equal playing field. So no one declared themselves as left wing or right wing at that point. It's actually come from the journalists, as they would refer to them as the people on the left versus the people on the right. So that was the start of the French Revolution, basically, and I'm not going to get into that because that's very lengthy. But as the French Revolution unfolded, France abolished their monarchy in 1792, declared itself a republic, and King Louis XVI was killed by guillotine in 1793. And that's where the terms the left and the right came from. Of course, there is so much more nuance and depth to those terms that has been added since then, but that is the history of it. So today, when people talk about being on the political left, they usually advocate for more social reform, greater equality, and a larger government role in making their freedoms better. And when people are on the political right, they usually have emphasis on keeping tradition, private property, free markets, and gradual change. And I don't need to tell you that politics is obviously much more complicated than just left and right wing. It's a good starting point for getting an idea of someone's political beliefs, but it's always worth having a deeper conversation. That's all for today. Let me know if you've got any questions or you want me to talk about anything specific, and come back for the next episode of The Politics Playbook.